Hey Jess,
Hey, how's it going?
good. How are you? So we are live already. Hey Jess,
Hey, how's it
oh my
going?
gosh, I need to good. How are you? So we are. We're getting an echo. We're live already because we're going to start the live stream before us.
Okay, no problem.
Oh my gosh, I have my Halloween background on.
Yeah, let me fix mine too.
um, I feel like we can move on from Halloween now, and I'll do a Northern Lights theme. That's
These backgrounds always cut off half of your head, I notice. I don't know what it is. For me, like, not for you, for me. I don't know why, so I'm just gonna go with my. How's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. Today is just kind of an interesting day. Yeah, lots of things are happening, lots of learning, lots of growth. How about you?
Yeah. Yeah, no, same here. I think it's been a busy time and, a lot of things going on, but
You're on midterms, right?
yeah, midterms and then assignments and all of that stuff. So, and then trying to balance all this other stuff too. But I think it teaches you a lot about like the time management skills and things like that. So I think that kind of, is perfectly aligns with our topic for today and how we want to be discussing things like stress and anxiety management and some things that we do when we feel like we have a lot going on our plate and yeah, just tips for, youth out there that feel sometimes they feel like they're alone or no one understands really what they're going through, but I think that's like so far from the truth. And if you wanna open it up, or I can even start, totally up to you.
Yeah, I mean, like, what do you think about
Mm.
dealing with anxiety when you're kind of feeling overwhelmed with tasks, with things to do, whether
Yeah.
it's like school, work, anything, right? Like, what are some coping strategies or some effective strategies we can use to kind of fight against that and like calm?
Hmm. Well, I think stress is there's two separate things. First, there's stress, and then there's anxiety, and I feel like they're differentiable things for different reasons. But I think stress is something everyone goes through in most periods of your life. There is some reason or not for having stress, whether it's it's a personal situation, school, work, and then letting those things pile up sometimes also can lead to that. And I think when it comes to tasks and things that you have to do, yeah, for me it's really about I don't like surprises, so I like anticipating those things beforehand. You know what I mean? So if
Yeah.
I know that this next week is going to be super hectic and super busy, then okay, what can I do the week before to prepare for that? Or at least let me try to find one night off of that. Sometimes you don't have the flexibility, and I totally get that. And we feel like we're burned out, and I think that's a feeling that I've definitely felt before, and it comes and goes for sure. But I think it's about putting your stress or those things towards like healthy things rather than some negative things. So for example, I know we've talked about before, like going to the gym at the end of the night, working
Yeah.
out. Like yesterday, for example, I went at 10 o'clock, and even though
Oh
I was
wow.
so tired from the rest of the day, yeah, I just felt like I needed it to, rejuvenate myself at the end of the day. And
You
those
went you went at 10 p.m. So
yeah, yeah.
oh wow. I don't think I've gone that late and long. Like I've been there at 10, but I don't
Okay.
know if I've been like I don't know if I've gone at 10. I've gone at 9 recently, and I found that was like
Mhm.
I stayed for like quite some time because my workouts are usually like about an hour and a half or so.
Yeah.
I stayed for quite some time, but yeah, I don't think I've started at 10. You must have been there for a little while. That's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it closed by 11, so I really only had an hour.
Oh,
Um, I feel like if it was one of those 24-hour ones, I'd definitely be there because I'm
yeah.
I'm a
Where are
night
you
night
training?
owl.
Yes. Are you training at the
Sorry?
Arc?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. So to those of us listening, the Arc is the really state of the art, really cool state of the art gym at Queen's University.
Yeah.
But you have to book your time still just with the.
No, so that's they just took that off actually. So you can yeah, it's more like the other gyms now where you can walk in at any time and before you had to wear masks like on the equipment, but now you don't have to. So
So they're just like you're showing your student card and you get to walk in kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Proof of
Okay.
vaccination, student card, and then the app where if you see you have to like register that, say if you have any symptoms in the last 24 hours. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, that's no, it's interesting. I didn't know that it closes at 11, you said.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I've been going to the Good Life for quite some time. I'm really happy with the membership. It's not that expensive. It's around 35 dollars a month
Mhm.
membership plan that I'm on, and it's 24 hours most of the Good Lives that you can go to.
Oh, okay.
And you get access to all Good Lives in Ontario. So, and I think I mentioned this before, but I'm always really happy about that because it's like, if I want to catch a workout at like 6 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock at night, I can do that, right?
Mhm.
I'm debating on what I want to do for tomorrow because tomorrow I've got a pretty stacked day. I'm teaching from 8:30 to 3:30, and then I have rehearsal 5 to 9:30. So I'm like, do I get a workout in between that or whatever? But that's another thing about Good Life is there's so many locations that no
Mhm.
matter where I'm working, like if I book another gig at a different place, there's always typically one inside the area that I can kind of go to.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, like I'm debating on whether or not I should do a night workout afterwards or a morning one because I took a rest day yesterday, worked out
Yeah.
today. I don't like to take I don't know about you, I don't like to take too many rest days because like you said, like it's a way of coping with your stress and your anxiety. So it's almost like you need to do it some days just to kind of have that time to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think everyone has their different ways of coping, and that's totally fine. It doesn't have to be going to the gym, but it's important to find that thing. Like one of my friends has to like take a bath, at
Yep.
least
Yeah.
a couple times a week, and I've never related to that. I feel like I don't want to sit there in a bath, but yeah, hot shower or something definitely does the trick too.
Yeah, definitely hot showers, hot baths. I feel like a lot of my friends are kind of into that. They'll do like um a bath bomb every time they go in.
Yeah.
That's like their thing, right? That's how they de-stress, with the salts and the candles, and like that's really really cool. I totally get that.
Mhm.
Everyone has a different thing or can have a different thing in terms of like how they manage that anxiety or manage that stress. Because I mean, like for college, university students in general, I think it's just as finding different ways to cope with that is like super important. Um, and I found like I found this sound on TikTok that I really liked. And that's one of my favorite things to do is just save sounds on TikTok. Like I come
Same.
across TikTok I really like, I save the sound, right? And one of them was just like going on about how some days you have to take the time to just like go for a walk, grab a coffee at your local coffee shop, and just like
Mhm.
people watch and like pretend that you're like the main character in a movie, you know? And like it sounds silly, but like it's so helpful for you to do, and it's so necessary for your brain just to kind of be bored a little bit almost, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
But what do you feel about like it's sometimes you find that it's hard to take those like extended periods of time, 3 or 4 hours to do something like that. Um, Sometimes I think about my days and, I'll say, okay, I only have half an hour, or maybe an hour at the end to de-stress. And I heard about this really interesting thing, and I think it's called reverse procrastination. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's
Oh,
like you
right.
stay up later at night, trying to de-stress or whatever. For me, it's going on my phone sometimes until 2 a.m. or something like that. But then
Yeah,
it's only because you don't want to wake up for the next morning and have all those next line of responsibilities to do.
right.
So you're kind of, tricking your brain thinking that you're having like a relaxation time, but it's only to have a lack of sleep and have all of those things translating to the next day. So yeah, it's definitely hard to find that balance sometimes. I don't know if like face that yourself or
Um, yeah, I think like I definitely over the pandemic I found myself going through those scrolls really, really late at night. I think like nowadays I'm just so tired when I get home that I hit the pillow and I'm like out,
yeah.
you know? And I think that's a sign of overworking, to be honest, and like overexerting myself in a lot of ways. Like there were moments there where I wasn't even taking rest days sometimes, and days off, and I guess it's because I enjoyed that. Like I said, I enjoy that alone time that it brings me, right?
Mhm.
But I have to find other ways and other things to cope, and I'm doing much better at that now recently. But I definitely had those days, Jess, where I was like, staying up at late at night, avoiding what was to come for the next day because I knew it was to come. And again, maybe it was just because I didn't want to just keep repeating the same thing over and over again because I felt
Mhm.
like during a big chunk of the pandemic, like everyone did, right? It was
Yeah.
you're repeating things over and over and over again, right? The same day over and over again in lockdown over and over again. Um, but then again, there's this positive side to it as well, where it's like I'm grateful that there is this app TikTok where like now I've tried to transfer that into like a positive thing where I feel like I'm learning so much about so many different things on that app um, that I wouldn't have had any experience with or any access to except for over the pandemic. So it's like a little bit of yin and yang in that, Yeah, yeah. But finding other ways to deal with that stress and anxiety and cope with it while also learning how to take care of yourself and rest and honestly eating good food is like a really really cool way to kind of de-stress myself. Dark chocolate,
Oh.
amazing for what it does to the brain and all the dopamine that it gives.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
no, even a simple little thing like that too
Hmm.
can make the world of a difference. And I think a lot of people like now coming out of the pandemic, at first it's interesting because at the beginning of the pandemic, of course, people had those stresses and anxious about, the health regulations and if they're going to be safe. And while that's still so prevalent and still going on, I think now I've talked to a lot of people and they're having, okay, now that this is over, um, there's a lot I have to kind of confront a lot of things and face a lot of things that I hadn't like done before. So like for example, going to classes in person or socializing again. Like it's for a lot of people, it's become very routine to, just see their family or see one other person, for example, and then feeling almost like this pressure to go back and be social and see all these people and do all these things because people feel like they lost 2 years or whatever.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I've spoken to people about, and they're definitely feeling at this time. So yeah, I think there's no real like right answer, and I think that's why this will always be like a topic for discussion and something that you can talk about how different people cope with those symptoms and what they can do. But I think for me it's like definitely about like finding one or two things, or even realizing that everything doesn't have to be done like today, or remembering that there's still like
Yeah.
nothing's the end of the world until you make it, right? Like if you can't make one deadline, or you have to miss one thing, like it's not a big deal. If you have to call in sick one day to work, like it's worth it, you know what I mean? If that's going to preserve your sanity. Yeah.
That's a huge one, Jess. Just like not everything has to get done that
Yeah.
way. Remembering that has been like that's like so helpful for me to just kind of even just take in right now. And it's interesting, right? Because it's like, you know, I've noticed this in my students, right? There
Mhm.
are some people who disassociated when the pandemic happened, right?
Yeah.
And just kind of like mentally checked out, right?
Right.
Me being one of them for quite some time,
Mhm.
right? Just kind of lost sense of direction, lost that ability to, be social with people.
Mhm.
So there's, and I've seen this within my students. There's a lot of this like relearning how to do that again, and like to
Yeah.
enter the atmosphere and of like a classroom, and to like just simple things, just basic things, right? A lot of us kind of had to check in again and like relearn. And I mean, say for example, like I'm working this show at Wonderland right now,
Mhm.
2021. I, and the only reason I'm saying this because it reminded me of what we're talking about. It's 2021, and the last time I worked it was 2019, right before the pandemic. And
Mhm.
it's so interesting because whenever we refer to what we did in the previous show, we say last year, last year. Oh, I last year, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, 2020 happened. And, there's a bunch of us who just don't even consider that to me like last year.
Yeah.
It's associated because we were in lockdowns, because all
Yeah,
these things happened, right?
exactly.
And it was so stressful. And I feel like it caused me a lot of anxiety. So I just checked out. I was like, okay, I'm just kind of do something completely different, right?
Mm.
And so it's just interesting to me that concept of disassociation, and I've seen my students, a lot of them are, I would say, like coming out of that now. And it's really cool to see. And, everyone has their own journey with how they come out of that and whatnot, I feel like. But it was a reality. It was a thing that happened, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, it was just super interesting because we all just kept referring to it as like last year, last year. And then we like
Yeah.
actually correct ourselves and be like, nope, that was 2019. That was
Yeah.
2019. Right, right. Okay. Okay. That was the last time we did the show, So it's
Right.
really, really interesting.
So do you find like with your students, for example, are there now that you're obviously seeing a whole bunch of them, and I remember myself being in high school not too long ago, everyone had different ways of coping with that stress and anxiety. And I see it in university as well. And there's such a there's such an effort, or that there's definitely the high schools do try to kind of push students in the right direction towards like a healthy alternative and using those coping strategies. But the reality is like a lot don't, right? There's so much to do with like bullying or substance abuse and all of these things that you know come from whatever it is, stress and anxiety. So um is that something that you've had to deal with so far, or is it not as much? Do you feel like that people come talk to you about, since you're just in the beginning? But
Well, the course that I'm doing right now, it's a grade 11 open drama course. Okay.
yeah.
It's really interesting, right? Because it's like, um, for the most part, up until this year, I've
Hmm.
taught students who 100% wanted to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and now I'm finding it's like, okay, these are not buyers. These are
Right.
shoppers, right?
Hmm.
In terms of how I'm thinking of my students. And it's not all the time, of course, but everyone's dealing with such a different reality. And it's really been like an eye opener for me. Um, and it's made me think of, a lot of different things. And, I'm planning lessons with universal design to try and meet the requirements of everyone, something that everyone can feel included in. And I was talking to my students today about how there are different forms of meditation, for example,
Hmm.
right? And we were playing some drama games, and we were talking about how that can be a form of meditation. We were talking about journaling or free writing, just writing what comes to mind, and how that can be a meditation. How
Yeah.
dancing can be a meditation for some people. How all different types of art, not even art, running, sports, how like when someone is just in that kind of free flow state of mind, how that can be a form of meditation. And that just kind of goes hand in hand with what we're saying about how an individual copes with, stress and like dealing with their anxiety. It's about finding that thing, um, where they kind of just have that free flow state of mind. And that training is like a lot of what we do and what we are doing in this drama class. So it's really cool to see not only students, like I said, coming out of their disassociation, but also tuning into that space, and some for the first time, right? Of like focus, but focus that's concentrated with, um, a place that they have perhaps never been to before, right?
Hmm.
A place that's vulnerable and like open and stress free, right? And so
Yeah.
it reminds me, the class and the course itself reminds me a lot of what like you would hear from life coaching sessions and
Right.
stuff like that. And it's like super cool, to kind of dive deep into that with students, because like I said, what I've learned from it is that everyone's experience and everyone's reality is vastly different, and we're all sort of dealing with, um, so many different things that are sometimes hard to see beyond the surface, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, true. I think, yeah, I think school is definitely a place where you see like all those different perspectives, and you're always eh, usually you're the one who's in, I guess, in the midst of it, like while you're a student yourself or whatever. But I guess stepping back and seeing it from a teacher's perspective, and then kind of reliving, oh my, how did I feel when I was 16 and stuff like that, is like totally, totally different. So I think another thing is, like, for me personally, journaling is important, and there's something that I've been using for a few months now. It's the 5-minute journal. I don't know if you've heard much about it, but it's essentially a gratitude journal, and it takes 5 minutes essentially at the beginning of your day, end of your day, and you just basically start your day happier by like writing down a few things that you're grateful for, or a few things that went well that day, at the end. And it kind of refocuses your, mentality basically on, even if I had, not the best day, at least these are the good things that came from it. And it could be the smallest thing ever.
You're
So
remembering the positives, right?
yeah, yeah. And I think that goes a long way too, because sometimes, a lot of times, things are bigger in our heads than what they seem in person. And that's something that I have to remind myself when I'm dealing with something stressful, that, what, um, when I externalize it and tell someone, or I write it down, it doesn't seem all that bad as when, I think about it too much myself. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's really cool. I mean, I've tried things similar to that, but I don't know if I've ever stuck to it for like a long extended period of time, because they say
Yeah.
you can kind of trick your brain into being happy, right? I think
Mhm.
after like 20, 30 days or something like that with the gratitude journal, it's like super cool because you're automatically every day now training yourself to search for the positive, to look for the positive in every kind of situation, even if it was the crappiest day
Yeah.
of all time, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really cool kind of brain hack. And it's interesting too how like a lot of these things, when you just kind of think about it on a scientific level, is just like literally sometimes it's just about chemicals being released.
Yeah.
Right? And like
And
just like that dopamine chemical just like, being released and creating some happiness for us. And it's like using those tools to do that. So
yeah.
hey Ravindu.
Hey
Hey,
guys, sorry I was a little bit late.
no
All good, all
worries. Come join
Yes.
us. Talking about
Stress.
stress, anxiety management, all of those things that, kind of, obviously they feel like they weigh us down, but also remembering the bigger picture of things, and how you kind of have to remember the small things that keep you grateful and keep you going every day. So if you want to
Yeah,
speak a little
100%.
bit of that.
Yeah, I think especially right now with everything going on, there's a lot of stress in the world, right? So it's it's good to find out things that you can do to cope with your stress, right? Whether it may be going out on a walk, hanging out with your friends, playing a game or two,
Mhm,
to really do something to keep your mind off it, right?
mhm.
That's what I always done. Yeah, so what else do you guys talk about?
I mean, going for walks alone too. Like,
Yeah,
for me, of course, I love walking, jogging, whatever it is with friends. But I feel like walking alone sometimes. Like I was kind of saying to Jess earlier, like there's moments where you sort of have to feel like, or like pretend you're just like the main character of the movie. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Like to like get yourself on track and to sort of like mentally check in with yourself. Like I have these little walks that I go on in my neighborhood. It's just like a little check in, right? Where like breathing in fresh air. It's good physically for my body. I track my steps, whatever, whatever. But it's also just like this space to like
It's like
mentally
your own
check in
time,
with myself.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
And I
it's
do it on my
it's
rest days, so
it's
it really
especially good, like especially now since like most of us are using our technology so much. It's so good to just like get out from it for a little bit, right? And just be on your own and just kind of get away from that because that actually has a lot to do with stress because we're so on a what's next thing instead of taking a break and really taking time to relax, right? That's where a lot of stress and anxiety comes from, especially for students who have during these times you got stuff you got to stay home and do online school, and then you got exams, you got papers due, and it's hard to manage that. But what do you guys do to kind of go through that in your school life.
Yeah, we were talking about some kind of, some different tools. It can be really hard to balance. Like I know for me, right? With school life especially, you want to be able to succeed in every course, obviously, and also balance a social life, which is like super difficult to do. Um, but
And
it's,
I
what
think
do you think, Jess? Like you said,
sorry, not to cut you off. You
no,
continue.
no,
Um, and I think it's even more hard when you see almost this false expectation of there's certain people that look like they have everything together,
yeah,
and again, it can be through scrolling on social media or even people fake it, just by talking to, and we're like, yeah, I got like A's on all my assignments, and I also like party 3 nights of the week, and I'm able to do it all. And I know I've been in that place before where it's like, wow, like, am I doing something wrong myself, or is
Yeah.
that is that
Especially if you feel
normal?
like, you see your peer doing so much better than you, and you're like, man, what am I doing wrong? Right? I
Yeah,
don't feel like it's just in the school world, it's also in the business world, it's in the
right.
employment world. I think everyone feels it. It's like, how can I get better each day?
Yeah.
And I think the number one thing you got to realize is, you know it's you're not really fighting anybody, or you're not against anyone. It's literally you, right? So the only way to improve, you is to work on yourself, right?
Yeah.
And if you focus on, other people doing other stuff, I feel like it's going to be much harder for you to grow and, eventually get to the level you want to go.
yeah.
Hmm.
And I mean, we talk about this a lot, right? And that whole theme to bring up again of like you versus you. And
Yeah.
honestly, I'll relate everything back to the gym. I'll have a gym metaphor for everything. But like, you see that guy who has or that girl who has the body that you want, right? In
Yeah.
the gym. And then you go, oh, like that person has like these shoulders that I want, or that person has got like, those legs that I want. And it's kind of like, okay, your journey is so different than that person's journey. And like you're not seeing this like grind that person
Yeah.
went to go and do that. And I think it was I just watched this like really cool video of Kobe. Um
Kobe Bryant. Oh, I think I know
yeah.
what you're talking about. It's about when he was in junior high, actually, and he had the kill list, right? Is that what you're talking about?
No, no, no. This was just a short clip of him talking about success. Like he was delivering
Okay.
a speech, and he was going on about how happiness isn't reaching that end goal and like being that end goal. That's not where happiness lies. It's success and happiness is in the journey. So like
Exactly.
you working and grinding and being at the gym at 11
Yeah.
o'clock after working a really hard day, or like studying at 12 o'clock midnight, 2 in the morning after a really long day, after working, after a school day, you doing that grind, you living that journey, you being that underdog in your own story who's like, just getting to where you want to be and working up your way and climbing that ladder to success. That's where the happiness lies. That's where the success is. That's the actual destination. And it was really, really cool to see, to hear him kind of talk about it. And it just kind of stuck with me because I think it's so true. The grind is almost like what's enjoyable. And you just kind of have to keep remembering that. And then that phrase that I shared in a couple podcasts, be so busy watering your own grass, you don't notice if others are greener, you know?
Yeah.
So,
One thing I can relate to is I really get like anxiety, and I used to get anxiety and doing stuff, especially speaking up on stage and in front of a large crowd. I remember I was in junior high, and we're in a play, right? Like doing a drama. It was actually comedy, and I was so nervous, right? It's like, you feel that anxiety, and then, one of the things that kept me going is like, what, just be just be yourself, right? Even if you mess up, who cares? At the end of the day, it's your life, right? I think that's what we got to realize, when we come to this moment that's really stressful. there's a lot of anxiety. You just got to be yourself and speak your mind, right? And there'll be people that like it, and then there'll be people that don't like it, right?
Then you also have to think like, will this matter, 6 months from now or 6 years from now, even? So that's sometimes what I think about, if it doesn't matter like 6 years from now, then is it that important right now too,
Yeah,
So
I remind myself of that anytime I have drama with someone, Jess. No, but honestly,
you
like,
have drama with people? I can't imagine that.
I mean, there's always drama, right? Like, drama
Sure.
happens. I'm a drama teacher, for God's sakes, but
Yeah.
anything, anytime something happens like that, I'm always just kind of like, is this really worth being upset over? Because like more often than not, a
It's not.
year from now, 2 years from now, I'm not even going to talk to these people anymore.
Yeah.
Like, know these people, right?
Yeah.
And
100%.
it's I just kind of came to that realization, and ever since then, it's just been so powerful to remind myself of that, because it's like I suddenly don't take everything so seriously,
Hmm. And you shouldn't, right? Because it's life. Like, why take it so seriously? I've seen people that are, so serious, like, oh, I'm about to do like I got to do this. Like, you should just take some time and what's it like, carpe diem, like seize the day, right? Enjoy the moment and be there instead of, really stressing about a lot about something that's not going to happen, right? I feel like a lot of younger people, they stress about something that's not going to happen, but the reality of it happening, right? Maybe you guys can
Or
relate.
something you can't change, right?
Yeah, or something you
That's
can't
something.
change. Like, for example, I got in a car crash in 2020. I remember like being so stressed about, like, man, what if I took the wrong, like, why did I take that turn? Like, what if I just slowed down a little bit, right? Why was I doing this? Even I had, when I dislocated my shoulder, it was because I was playing basketball in the rain, right? I was like, man, why did I go out to the, like,
Mhm.
why can't I just stay home like a normal
Yeah,
kid, right? But you
yeah.
can't change that,
So
right?
the left side of your brain, the analytical part of you, is like trying to analyze it and be like, what did you do? Like you're trying to learn from it. You're trying to be like, okay,
Yeah,
what did I do wrong? Like, how can I avoid that next time? Like, what did I like? How could I have avoided that? Like, what's going on, right?
exactly.
That's good to a degree, because like that's how we learn and whatnot. Like that's fine. But I have the same thing, right? And it's like I almost try to analyze or like pre-analyze things before they happen.
Yeah.
You cannot do that. Like,
No,
you
you can't.
just cannot. And so
Yeah.
it's like, I was teaching a brand new game to my drama students today. And I was like, guys, everyone, bear with me. This might go really badly. Like, just bear with me. It's a brand new game. It's still being developed. Like, let's just try it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Right. And I feel like because I had that attitude of like, this might not work out, this might be absolutely
It
fantastic,
didn't work out.
it was stellar. It was the best game we ever played.
Yeah,
And it was because I was like not trying to pre-analyze everything that I was supposed to do with them. And
yeah.
now,
Like you're
now I carry
overthinking it.
that. Yeah,
Mhm.
I was overthinking it. And
Yeah,
I carry that with me now, or try to at least, because I also, Ravindu, do have that like analyzing brain.
yeah.
Like even after a situation happens, I'm like, okay, how can you avoid that? What are you learning from this, Carl?
Hundred
Like,
percent.
just unfold and let it happen. Right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's the lesson.
And the main thing you got to realize is like what was supposed to happen was supposed to happen, right? I know you feel like you could changed it, but I always say to myself, maybe because this happened, something else will open up in my future
Yeah.
that that could never happen before, right? Always feel like, when you're at your rock bottom, I heard this amazing quote, when you're at your rock bottom, you have nowhere to go except up,
Mm.
Yeah,
right? Because
it
you're
has
at,
to be low. Hmm.
you're so low. You can start building your foundation from there. So, whatever happens in life, whether it's, not doing so good in school, not getting the job you want, just feel like, you know what, maybe it's gonna open something else up for me and give me a different opportunity that will change the world, or change me, right?
Yeah.
And I think those experiences at the end of the day, they build character within you because if you always get your way or you always have stuff handed to you on like a silver platter, the first time you try, or if it's a job, the first time you apply, or, I know people that, for example, they let's just say like they haven't had to face as many challenges necessarily as others, and their attitude in general towards a lot of like things in life and handling conflict, like they don't know how to do that as well. Whereas
100%.
other people that I know who, have been through tougher things and have been through a struggle and are still going through it, I see a lot more, there's definitely a different perspective and a different angle that they view life through. And it's a lot more grateful because they've seen like both sides of it. So I
Mm.
think those are two important points. And another thing that I would say to people is, if you are someone like I'm someone that I can't say no. It's very hard for me to say no to someone if they ask me to do something for them or they want to do something, whatever it is. Like it's hard for me to be like, no, I actually can't do that today, or I already have all of this stuff on my plate. Um, but I think one of the biggest things to learn is that you have to learn to say no. And that's something I'm still working on. That, if I say yes to all of these things, then I'm going to end up burning myself out and hurting myself at the end of the day. And you have to prioritize like your well-being at the end of it.
Yeah.
And you have to like, really just take control over the parts of your life that you find tend to cause you that stress or anxiety and all of the things. And of course, we're all juggling so many responsibilities and they do leave us feeling overwhelmed. But I think it's important to be selective of the things that you choose to put your energy towards and what you want to take on because it's all not worth it.
Mhm.
Yeah. I want to add on to that. First, I'll add on to the one where you say, sometimes you might not get everything you want. I want to mention Jack Ma. Have you guys heard of Jack Ma? Alibaba? You guys know Alibaba, right?
I don't think so.
Alibaba in China. It's like the Amazon in China.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So Jack Ma actually he applied to 52 jobs, right, including KFC and
Wow.
including the police, and he didn't get accepted to any single one, right? And then he ended up creating the largest, business in China, one of the largest businesses in China. And it's crazy his story of how he learned English. He never went to school like, you know, like the rich. He wasn't rich, and he learned from tourists, right? Just speaking to tourists and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But he really talks about, it eventually come. You just can't quit,
Yeah.
right? Like imagine, man, 52 times a no. It's like you applied once, like okay, no. It's like I would go crazy. I would feel like I'm doing something wrong, right?
Mhm.
But to feel that inside yourself, there's something out there,
I mean, how
right?
many times did we hear about, CEOs or like really successful entrepreneurs who had this like period of struggle, right?
Yeah.
And like this goes back to what you were saying too, Jess, when you kind of talked about people who, kind of had that internal struggle or external struggles throughout their lives. And there's this kind of like go-getter attitude because there's this constant like underdog energy of like, I have
Yeah.
to go and seek things out. Like things are not just going to come to me. There may
Yeah.
Definitely.
be some positive attitudes and towards of like manifesting positive things in your life, things come to you positively, like that's absolutely fine, but you also have to be like actively trying
Doing
to
it.
do things,
Right.
Yeah.
right? Otherwise that part doesn't work.
And the good
Right.
thing is when you face a lot of hardship at a younger age or feel that you actually, when you get older and you start getting more experience, it helps you a lot more, right?
Mhm.
Instead of someone that's we talk about this in investing. You never want a graph that just goes completely up, right? Because that way you're making money, but it's not like you're growing your money quite a bit. You want a graph that's like, doing this, like the yo-yo, right?
Mhm.
Because you go up and down, up and down. It's always like, I got my ups, I got my downs, but I just got to learn from my downs and get back up,
Yeah,
right?
I love the relation to the stock market and that. It's like, how can I make this about money? No, but you're absolutely right though, right? And it's sort of like there it goes back to that whole point. Like if we were to sum it up, is there needs to be that low point in
Mm,
order to experience those high of highs, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and just everyone gets stressed. It's normal. Just feel like it's okay. I'm normal to feel this way, but don't stay stressed forever, right? And then don't stay at that point for a long time. Eventually, take your time and then build yourself back up. I think that's the main key of today's discussion, right?
And it's
Build yourself
important
up.
yeah, but for sure, building yourself up and remembering that like knowing to differentiate, okay, am I stressed because of internal like external factors? Is it because of events or stuff that's going on around me? Or is there something more internal, for example? And I think that's where anxiety comes into into place. And um if you feel like I've had people come and talk to me that I don't know what to do. I constantly feel sad. Like that's constantly, it's not necessarily because of an external circumstance or an event. It's just kind of become my new normal and I don't know what to do. And that's when I can sense that, okay, that this is something more than just stress. This is either anxiety or depression. And then I think at that point, it's important to go talk to a professional and actually seek out the help that you need.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
Would recommend.
Yeah,
They
go speak to
what
somebody. Don't keep your thoughts to yourself, right? Always talk to someone about, how you feel and all of that, and keep yourself going. Don't
yeah,
give up.
Yeah,
even
and
if
I
you're
think that's the
confiding in
beauty
your
too with
friends.
like social media and online platforms and groups. Facebook has so many of these groups and things like that. Even if you don't feel like you have anyone close to you, there's still so many people out there that you can connect with and talk to online even.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Um, and more people than you would know would be understanding like your struggle and what you're going through. So
100%. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of support groups out there. I think even in your own local community, you can probably find some support groups that talk about that stuff, right? And
yeah.
if you guys go to church, maybe there's like a youth group, or like, there's always somewhere that you can go and speak to somebody.
Hmm.
and even if you're interested in getting one-on-one counseling, a site that I'd highly recommend that I was on in the past is BetterHelp. BetterHelp's online counseling, and they set you up with a counselor depending on what you're kind of going through. And it's really, really such a great tool because you can constantly be, messaging your counselor, update them on things that happen. They'll give you PDFs, tools, things of list of things to do, as well as video and phone conference calls that are super, super helpful. And it's all online. So it should be, pretty easily accessible by kind of anyone. And the rates were pretty fair as well, from what I can remember. So that's another site that I highly recommend checking out if you need to. But also, like, being able to confide in a close friend that you trust too sometimes can really, really help. Um,
Hmm.
and
I think. Sorry,
no,
go ahead, Carla.
I was just gonna say it's not even necessarily about having to get advice from someone. It's really
Yeah,
just about having someone there
someone to speak
in
to.
life to listen to. Yeah,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
have
Having
someone to listen to.
having like a mentor or someone in your life you can talk to, right? I think.
Yeah.
Actually, I was gonna say, I think they should. Is counseling free? I never been to counseling. But is it free?
No, no,
No, it's not, right?
no, it's not
But
free.
they should make like that should be like a government program. I almost feel like, especially in these times, because there is a lot of high stress, high anxiety right now, especially in a lot of youth,
Yeah.
and a lot of depression. I feel like that counseling, if that was a free thing and we kind of promoted that, I feel like that would help the economy and help a lot of the younger generation grow, right? And maybe something to think about in the future. If you ever become a politician, you're watching this, there you go.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. And we were
No,
talking about how it's like kind of all related to chemicals. Sorry, just to cut you off.
100%, yeah.
no, it is for
It's
sure.
about learning how to, kind of manage that and just cope with that on a science level, right?
I read this book a while ago. Let me try to look for the name, but you guys can keep talking. I'll try to look at that.
Yeah, sure. No, I was just gonna say, like, so I have a younger brother. He's in high school, so sometimes I talk to him and kind of hear what it's like because I'm a few years removed from that now. So he was telling me the other day that one of his friends who was probably one of the most social people, outgoing, when they were in grade 9, and now coming into grade 11 because they had that whole year in lockdown. Basically, something's completely changed, and instead, he's very quiet, and he's developed like this social anxiety and all like things like that. And that person's mother actually reached out to my brother and was like, okay, is there anything you can do to help him out, or just be there as a friend for him? And it just opened my eyes to, I'm sure there's so many cases like that where just
Hmm.
because of the pandemic, people's whole, their personalities and the things that made them who they were, it's changed because we were in lockdown and away from people for so long, and
It's like
it is
we don't
hard
even know how to talk anymore.
to talk anymore. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It feels awkward going out. It's like, what do I say?
What I
Before,
say?
yeah, I know. I feel that. I think a
Yeah.
lot of us, especially if you have been working from home and you haven't seen your friends for a while, most of us feel like that. One of the books I wanted to recommend is Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules for Life, right? Antidote of Chaos. I was, listening to this book. It's pretty good. It talks about kind of like the brain aspect of, psychology and all that stuff, right? It's a really cool book. He's a professor, I think. And yeah, if you guys have time, you guys can read that. I have it in my phone and listen to it.
Yeah, he's
Awesome.
got some interesting points about certain things. It's cool. Yeah. Cool. Well, I feel like that's like kind of a natural place to end things off for today.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening, everyone. Leave a comment on if you're seeing this and watching it back after to, give us some tools and hints and tips and tricks on how, everyone, you folks deal with, anxiety and stress management. We'd love to hear.
Yeah.
I think it's an important topic to even circle back to, Ravindu and Jess, like if we wanted to talk about this kind of again, because it's constantly evolving for me.
100%.
So there's always kind of new ways and new strategies to talk about and discuss.
And it's also life experiences, right? As we grow older, as we deal with it more, we're gonna find out, new strategies, new ways that we cope with our own stress and our own struggles.
Exactly. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Please be sure to follow at Moksha Canada on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And we'll see you in the next episode. Have a
See you guys.
Everyone, take care. Bye.